Hi, welcome to another video clip from Broken Spoke Stable. Today we're going to be talking about how to introduce a young horse to clippers and the proper way to clip. Just a few things that I would like to mention before we get started. I like a pair of clippers that are battery operated so that we don't have to worry about the cords or anything like that for your horse to get caught up in. And another thing you really want to do is to make sure that you oil the head of your clippers really well before you start the process. And it's also a good idea to have a mounting block just in case you're short like my assistant and need to stand up a little taller. So we're going to use this little 2-year-old quarter horse named Karma, and this is her first experience, so let's see how this works.
Before we get started, I'm going to oil the blades of the clippers. Whenever we start a horse out with clippers that is young or hasn't ever been exposed to them, the first thing we do is take them while they're turned off and rub them all over their face, their neck, just everywhere that you're going to be clipping primarily, especially around their face. Horses are naturally protective of their faces, so if they're not on, makes them a little less threatening. And as soon as you know that they're relaxed with that and they're not trying to back away or move, then you take them and you turn them on away from them. Let them check them out. If she wants to smell them, that's great. I'd rather her smell them. And if you're pretty sure that they're comfortable with them out here and to the side, over here, then you can start rubbing them with the clippers on. Just like you did with them off. You always want to make sure you do both sides equally. Yes. And then once you're sure that they're good with them being rubbed on them, you can go ahead and start clipping the areas that you want to clip. Once your horse is completely accustomed to the clippers, the easiest place to start clipping is the muzzle. Whenever you start clipping, you don't want to go against the hair like this because you will leave lines on their face. You want to go with the hair growth, and you want to make sure that your blade length is appropriate to their hair length. It's the end of winter, so she's still got some long hair on her, so it's about a medium length right now. You're going to come down and you're just going to go with the hair growth. Now, if she were to start getting a little nervous or trying to leave or moving around, I'd stop and go back to rubbing the clippers on her. I don't want her to be afraid of them or feel obligated to stand here and force it upon her. And you'll just have to be careful because some horses like to try and bite them because they're ticklish. The next part that we like to clip after we get done the muzzle is underneath of their chin and where their throat latch goes. You have to make sure, you might even have to adjust the length of the blade from the muzzle to that because the hair is longer under the throat latch. Undo the throat latch for the halter if you can. And the same thing, you want to go with the hair growth. It's a little long. I would like to point out too, I did not just bring her in from the field and decide to start clipping her. We did some groundwork and some desensitizing, and she's been worked on and off all winter, so I didn't just go catch her and say, okay, Karma, I'm going to clip you today and see how it goes. I've tried to prepare her as much as I can beforehand so that I set her up to be successful, and it's a good first-time experience like she's had. And also, since this is her first clip, I'm not worried about appearance as much. If this is a show horse, you don't want to decide the night before the show that that's the first time they're going to be clipped and you want it to be the most perfect clip in the world. You're just setting yourself up to be in a rush and frustration and everything else that can go wrong the night before a show. So this might not look perfect, but it's just exposing her to the clippers and making her look neater. The next easiest spot to clip is the bridle path. Obviously her hair is really long, so sometimes if you don't have the best pair of clippers, you want to take scissors to them and trim it up a little bit. But to get the length that you want, usually we'll do the length of the ear. So I would start the clip about right there. You want to make sure you take a little bit at a time, because as you get closer to the ears, that's where your forelock is going to be. And you don't want to take half of their forelock out when you do the bridle path. And at first I'm just concerned with getting the bulk of the hair out of here. That's okay. Come here. I'm just going to take a little bit more off, and then I'll go back and clean up the bridle path a little bit so it doesn't look so sloppy. One of the harder parts of the body to clip, just because horses are so sensitive, is their ears. So the way I like to do it the first time I clip their ears is I'll squeeze them together and just get the hair that's on the outside out. And they might be a little resistant at first, so I'm just going to go back to rubbing her again, rubbing her with the clippers on her ears. And I'll try and go back and rub again, and that's okay. I'm just going to go back to rubbing it. You don't want to make it an issue, because if you make it an issue, they'll make it an issue. Just going to go right back to rubbing, and then I'm just going to take a little bit at a time. I got a little bit off, I'm going to come back and rub it. Squeeze and take a little, and that's okay. I'm just going to rub it again. And you can make ears a huge issue really fast if you try and push it. I mean, just do a little bit at a time. That's why the worst possible thing you could do is take a horse and clip their ears for the first time the night before a show. You're setting yourself up and the horse up to be frustrated. As you can see, I haven't gotten this ear completely clipped, but I'm more worried about ending on a good note. So as long as I can rub her with these and she's nice and calm and relaxed, that's the note I'm going to end on. It's not important to me to get her ears completely clipped out. It's more important that she's nice and relaxed and okay with the clippers being near her ears. Last but not least, you want to do the feathers of the legs here. This is really good for horses that have white legs that are prone to scratches. A lot of the times if you clip them down, it keeps the water from hanging out there and causing the scratches. But for her, we're just going to do it for appearance. And sometimes if you have a horse that doesn't ground tie, it might be better to have someone hold it, especially if they're young like her. You don't want her to jump on you or anything like that. And sometimes you can take scissors to this too, if it doesn't want to clip up, like this one. We decided to switch clippers because the other clippers were not hardy enough to do this. So these are cord, and I would not do this if she wasn't okay with these so far because I can't follow her with them if she decides to move. And I'm just going to finish what I started here. Well, that was great for her first time being clipped. Remember, not to spend too much time doing it the first time because their attention span is only so long. And just because she was easy does not mean your horse will be easy. So make sure you go their speed and not yours.